Disclaimer. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only and should not be considered as facts. Nothing that is said about any person, organization, gaming company, or sport topic in general should be taken as facts, as well as any talk about any political, religious, or medical topics. As for medical topics, at all times you should speak to a licensed medical professional before any opinion is considered. Everything that is said on this podcast is opinion-based only. Viewers and listeners' discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Dr. VTech Show. This podcast is a long-form conversation hosted by Dr. VTech with the top guests in the world of esports. All from owners, pros, semi-pros, former pros, and content creators of many games. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dr. VTech Show. Well, today we have a special guest, and let me tell you, this guy is special. It is a true honor to have the one and only Gibson. Darren Gibson, the caster. Yeah, GibsonCasts. He's a phenomenal caster. I look up to this guy. I listen to him a lot. He knows precisely a lot about casting. And guys, trust me, it's a true honor. Gibson, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Look, that's a really nice intro you gave me. I just talk over games, and some people like it, some people don't. But hey, it's a hell of a career hobby. You know, one of those things to have.
Yeah, but you know what is? I believe in my heart that is one of the most complicated and most difficult things to do. I tried to do it one day. I saw a game on YouTube and I said, okay, I'm going to try to cast this on my own just to practice. Oh man, I just couldn't. I fumbled every single moment. It was just too complicated. So Gibson, how was it? How do you first started on all this?
So I suppose it's really weird for me to say, but I never found casting that tricky, but I think it has to do with maybe my background. So I'm one of the older people in the scene. I'm in my 30s, early 30s, by the way. No, I'm not old, but there are a few people older than me. But way back when dinosaurs wandered the earth, I was in school, and I kind of, we were going into this thing in Ireland called transition year, right? So when you're in school in Ireland, you do when you're like 13, 14, 15, you're in what they call the junior cycle. So it's your first set of exams. How you perform in that takes you onto your senior cycle, where you go ahead to do kind of your finals, which would be in the US kind of like your senior year in high school. But between the two, you can take an optional year, which is called transition year, which is basically a year where you can not really do exams. You focus a lot on your being, you as a person, developing yourself. And we did this project called the Blast Beat tournament, which was about like running a music company. And as part of running the music company, we had to run a concert. And they were like, hey, we're looking for someone to be a host or an MC. And me and one of my mates says, you know what? Yeah, we'll do it. So me and a guy, I'm not going to name him here, but me and a guy we hosted 3 or 4 concerts, which was kind of like an America's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent, that kind of at and deck role, or where you'd be on stage just introducing the acts, talking to them, asking them a few questions. And I really liked it. And then after that, I got asked to do a musical, so I was kind of the lead in a musical as well. I cannot sing, so I don't know how this happened. I didn't ask to be in the musical. I was told I was doing it by one of the teachers in school. But I did that, and I really loved just talking and being in front of people. And I don't know, yourself, you kind of go to college and it all dried up. Like, I didn't put myself out there anymore. I wasn't looking for any hosting work, any MCing work. I just focused on doing my college degree, which was in accountancy and finance. So got my degree, watched esports, gamed my whole way through college, but I guess something was missing. It kind of just felt like life was very the same every single day. You go to work, you go home, you go to football training, you spend time with your partner, you go to bed. And COVID hit, and the whole world had a standstill. And I lost my ability to play football because obviously team sports were taken out of the mix. I lost my ability to socialize. Like, I am, as Whippet called me once, weaponized networking. Like, you just put me in a room and I'll talk to everybody. I lost my ability to do that. So I started streaming on Twitch because I missed being social. I had loads of free time. So I started streaming on Twitch. I started playing games like Rocket League, Siege, PUBG. And I started doing like community tournaments in Rocket League. Like every Friday night I would run a tournament. We eventually would get like up to 100 viewers. You would have 60 something players taking part and I would commentate over it. And I really enjoyed that. So I was like, right, I actually like commentating. This is something I really want to do. So I reached out to Wild, the EUL team, which were...
Yeah, Team Wild. Yeah, I know them.
They weren't, obviously they weren't in the EUL at this stage. They were a tier 3 team competing in, UCAN and MPL. And I was like, hey, I'm Irish. You're Irish. Do you know of anything casting work going? And they brought me in to do their Challenger League qualifiers a few years ago. I think it was about 2.5, 3 years ago now. And they loved it. I did a little bit of a podcast then with, Grace. So people would know her as... I never know how to say the Twitter app, like Heimgars, but we all call her Grace V. So Grace did a podcast along with her for Wild, and she basically brought me to the attention of, Ubisoft UK. So she put in a nice words. Ubisoft UK brought me up for UCAN 2, and it's just kind of been a crazy uphill roller coaster ride since then.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Your life did a big 180 there. That's a big 180 because you'll listen to some casters and I know when that person is gifted versus one that is not. Some, they just flow like wine. They just flow. And I remember watching and seeing Kickstar. He had that flow. He became he even got awarded to be caster of the year. He was just like really deep into it. Some people have tried and they failed. And I just think you just have to have that passion, that dedication in your heart, like the way you do. I listen to the way you cast and I really like it. And obviously you're an EU, but you're very non-biased. You don't select and root for one team. You give praises to everybody during the competition. That's one of the things I like. Yes, I do notice some have a little bit favoritism, and the fans and will pick it up. Like, okay, this one's going more towards this side or going towards this team, and that kind of like spoils it. It's not good. I don't recommend it, but some do that. And then that happens in every sport, even in baseball, football, soccer. You call football soccer down there, so we call it backwards. But, some casters will just start rooting for another team and it just kind of spoils it. But the way you do it, you just equal to everybody. That's what I like. I see the way how you do it. So when you're on stage versus when you're at home doing casting, how big of a difference is that?
Night and day. It is actually crazy. So my first ever... I've never actually casted in front of a live audience yet. I've not had the opportunity to be in a venue, but I have casted out of a studio several times. So my first bit of studio experience was Gamers 8 in 2022. So very last minute, it was when Siege was put out. There was loads of community uproar about the event that I'm sure you're aware of it. And Whippet and I got the email like, hey guys, I know it's short notice, but would you be interested in working this event? I'm sure I'll talk way more about that later on in the podcast and how that came about. But we were like, yeah, 100%. The opportunity to go to a venue, to cast in a professional setting, we were tier 3 casters at this point. Like, we were so unknown. And just the ability to be standing beside the person that you work with. And I think it's really important to put this out there. Your duo, your co-caster, is usually going to be a very close friend as well, because this is someone you're working with who's got the same passion as you, and the ability to just stand beside your co-caster, to feel their energy in the person, for them to feed off your energy, it just makes the broadcast 10 times easier, because there's a very big difference between a pause and a handoff in casting. So I think if you look at the likes of Intero, who's incredible at it, Ace, Dez, sometimes they'll stop talking. And that's not them stopped making their point. That's just they're pausing for dramatic effect to build on to something. It is so much easier to read that in person, because you can give hand signals, you can signal. So yeah, to answer your question, casting beside someone in a studio is so much better, and unless you've got a special casting relationship with someone, it's never going to be the same remote.
That is so true, because I did notice the difference when Kickstar was casting with other casters. As soon as he got with Intero, boom, chemistry kicked in. That was just like peas and carrots. I mean, they just like clicked. It went from 1 to 100. It was phenomenal. So who is your co-caster?
So my co-caster is Whippet. So we've been called Gibbet. We've been called Whipson. That's what we've been called. I think the very first time we worked with Milosh, he was like, just Gibbet, or like it was Whipson, take it away. And we were like, yep, we'll roll with it. So Whippet's another Irish caster. So there's very few of us in esports as a whole, not just in Siege. Like, I think I'm aware of maybe 2 to 3 other Irish casters who've casted at the highest level in any esport, which is incredible, because when you think about UK talent, US talent, in Siege alone, there's probably been double digits of both. So we're very few and far between. I feel like our accent can be very hit and miss. Like, for the most part, I think people like it, but I know we're excitable. We talk fast sometimes.
Yes.
If you're a viewer from somewhere that doesn't natively speak English, Irish people can be very hard to differentiate between people who speak with more UK or American accents, because that's what they're used to on TV. But Whippet's another Irish caster. I reached out to him 2 years ago because a friend of mine knew him, and he was like, hey, you're an Irish caster. Did you know that there's this other Irish caster who works in Benelux, which was one of the regional leagues in Europe at the time? So I reached out to him, I was like, hey, you're an Irish caster. I'm brand new. Would love to, pick your brain sometime. Maybe, work together at some point. In true, I suppose, Whippet fashion, he aired me for a day. He saw the message, didn't reply. And then a day later, he finally did. We ended up working a little bit of Rainbow Rumble together, which was like a tier 3 tournament in Europe, which was primarily UK and Ireland. And then we got to work a little bit together in NPL, which was the Nordic Premier League. And Northern Premier League. But from that point on, I just felt like this is the person I want to work with, because we have the same opinions on the game. We've both got that Irish kind of crackhead energy, I suppose is a good way to put it. And I just get on with him as a person. Like, we're friends. So it was like,
correct.
Let's roll with it. And since then, we've worked Gamers 8 twice. We've worked Brazil twice. We've worked LATAM twice. We've worked Asia. We worked Korea. Like, we've been together now for officially 2 calendar years as a duo. And some of the opportunities we've had already has just been incredible.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So you did Brazil? This SI?
Yeah.
That's right. You did.
So we did.
How was that for you? How was that? That is, I want to know. I want to know that. How was that experience in Brazil? I mean, that had to be like.
So how does this? We did Challenger League last 2022, towards the end of the last ever Challenger League before the Blast took over and changed the whole ecosystem. And we left Challenger League feeling really good about ourselves. Like, we'd spoken to some people that said, hey, there's a good chance that you'll get more opportunities this year because you guys did really well. And then the whole ecosystem changed. And it was like, where do we go now? There's no real tier 3 anymore. There's no, tier 2 exists, but it's completely different. So, we were very lucky that Blast reached out and were like, hey guys, we're putting together a regional crew, 8-9 casters who are going to cover all the leagues outside of Europe, Europe, NA, and APAC, which were kind of the main English broadcasts. And they were like, you're going to be working Brazil, you're going to be working LATAM, and you're going to be working some Asia. And whenever I saw that I was going to be working Brazil, my jaw dropped, because I have been the biggest Team Liquid fan since I was just Nesk and Palu. I am the biggest Nesk and Palu fan there is. So the opportunity to cast them was incredible. Like, you were speaking about casters not being biased. I've always thought that I'm not biased, but I am a fan of certain teams. I think that's fine. Like,
yeah, you're allowed. You're entitled to have a favorite team.
Yeah, so you're allowed to be a fan as long as you're fair. Like, there's a big
exactly.
There's a big difference in like biased and fair. I always cast thinking that these players' parents, families, friends are probably watching.
Correct.
So why would you say anything that's overly negative about them? Let's talk about what they did well and what didn't work, as opposed to, oh, this team's terrible. But Brazil, as you said, I was like, I'm getting to cast the best region in Siege. Don't care what anybody says. EU, NA.
I agree.
Brazil is the best region. Technically, they're the best. Mechanically, they're the best.
Yes.
And it was a dream come true. So we casted that whole stage last year. We casted what, in my opinion, was probably a top 3 game in the whole of that calendar year, which was NIP taking on Los One in the Brazil LCQ final to qualify for the major in, I think it was Copenhagen. In my opinion, top 3 game last year, like along with the SI final and maybe one of the semi-finals in Copenhagen. To me, one of the best games of the whole year. And then nothing. We didn't get picked up for stage 2. So, we were on top of this crazy wave. We felt so good about ourselves. And then we got told that we weren't picked up for stage 2, even though we got like loads of positive feedback. And I'll be honest, I didn't take it well. Like, I think I matured a lot over not getting that work, because it was the first time in my career that I'd been told no, and I didn't react the best. But I grew from it. I got better. I focused on being me. Got invited this year again to do stage 1 for Brazil and LATAM, and man, I nearly cried when that email came in. I'm not going to lie, because I thought that it was Jover for a while, but to be brought back into the fold, to get that opportunity again, it just meant the world to me. And the fact that it was Brazil once more, like, wow.
Wow. That is heartbreaking. That could, and that just proves, if it hurts, that means you're very dedicated to it. If you don't care, you're like, well, I'm just here for the paycheck, then you won't care. But it hurt, because you're not in it for the paycheck. Of course, you're in it because you're going to make money, but this is your job, this is your career. But you have that passion, that drive. You love this. You love it so much that when they tell you no, it hurts. You start to cry. It hits your gut. It hits your gut. Because I could imagine. I mean, I'm going to tell you, to me, you're the GOAT, man. Right now, you're the current sitting GOAT as a caster. You do a phenomenal job. I listen to good friends. I know Pengu. I know other people. They do a good job. But the way you do it specifically, you're like top professional. And was there somebody that was a role model to you when you started doing this?
Yes. The easy credit. There's so many people on the scene that I have to give a lot of credit to. Before I got into casting, I was a huge fan of Gibson and Taro. Everybody is. Like, if anyone tells you they weren't, they're lying, right?
Yeah,
those two set the gold standard for casting in esports, not just in Siege. And I looked up a lot to them. Obviously, stylistically, I'm different. I'm probably more closer to a European style like Ace and Dez. But for how they conducted themselves, for the passion that they showed, it set the tone. There's another caster that I really looked up to called Pansy. Now, I don't know if you know who she is, but she was a PUBG caster. She works in Valorant now. She is so talented, like a wordsmith. Her ability to read the game, to understand the flow of a broadcast is second to none. I feel like somebody who deserves so many flowers as well is Dev. I think when you just look at his ability to play-by-play cast, it's top-notch. Like, he is so good at his craft. You know, Emmy the same, an incredible play-by-play caster. It's kind of a weird one because I look up to everybody in the scene. Like, every single caster that's in Siege has worked their ass off to get to where they are. They all have a ton of passion for the game. So, in a way, they're all kind of role models of mine, particularly the ones that are, you know, working international events, because they're where I want to get to. So if I want to get to that level, I need to be in that bracket. I have to be as good as them. So you always have to, you know, respect the system, respect the process, and, you know, look at what your peers and people above you are doing, and not necessarily. I don't think, if you listen to me, I don't copy anyone. But I admire certain things that people do really well. Like, I got to give credit to Guz and Xenox too. Like, their growth over the last 15 months is astronomical. Like, that SI cast that they put on was, you know, I've listened to it several times, and it's like almost flawless. Like, it's such a good cast. But one specific individual that is probably my biggest role model, and I'd say is the reason I am where I am today. And a lot of people mightn't expect this answer, but it's Fresh. He's not even a caster. He's a desk analyst, and he's the best desk analyst we have.
Wow.
But he is probably the biggest influence that Whippet and I have had in our career, because when we just came into the scene, it was him that vouched for us to get us the Gamers 8 gig. You know, it was him that was like, I've worked with Gibson, I've worked with Whippet. These two guys are really good at what they do. He's a straight shooter. If he thinks that you did shit, he'll tell you you did shit. If he thinks that you deserve praise, he'll tell you deserve praise. So I just want to give flowers to Fresh, because genuinely, massive positive influence in my career.
Wow. That's true, because every caster has a unique style. And that's another thing I admire about you. And I admire to those that don't imitate other people's, you know, gifts. Somebody has they do something different. Don't try to copy that. Don't try to imitate them. You know, yes, you want to be like them and do very good, but don't take their secrets and start using it for your own, because that's not cool. And everybody has a different type of style, and that's one of the unique things about casters, and that's what the fans like. They'll like to listen to somebody they feel comfortable listening to, and they get the information correct at the perfect moment. That's one of the things that I don't know how you guys do it, or how you do it, Gibson, because it's different when I see casters talking on a basketball game. Okay. But when it comes to a video games are fast. I mean, fast. This person shoots, this person dies, the other person is jumping, the other person is going somewhere else. And how you give the details. I mean, there's sometimes I don't even have to look at the screen. I could just listen to you, and I'm just getting all the information. I don't even have to look, because you're giving everything in detail, which I am happy, because I work in a medical field. And sometimes when I'm working at the hospital, I can't be looking at my cell phone. You know, I got to be looking at what's going on with my patients. But what I do, I put in one Bluetooth on one ear, and I'll just listen. And that means the world to me, because I could listen And I know that GibsonCasts is giving me every single detail. I mean, you're just telling everything and precise. I was like, wow, freaking amazing. I mean, trust me, I still don't know how can you do it by the tee. I mean, do you have to practice so much, hours and hours upon days, or this is like a God-given gift, like you just flow with it naturally?
I think just being Irish helps. I think we've got the gift of the gab, as people would say. But I always strive to be better. Like every time I cast, I want to be better than the last time I was on the mic, and a lot of that comes from reviewing my own work, reviewing my peers. Like, I'm more heavily towards play-by-play, so kind of talking about what's happening. Now, I feel like I've got a decent understanding of the game as far as the color side of, why teams are doing what they're doing. Mm-hmm. But watching back, for example, any Intero Pengu cast, like, you learn so much from... If you actually stop and listen to what Pengu is saying and watch the screen, you will learn so much as a caster, just as far as, like, this is why the team's doing what they're doing. This is why they're creating that opening. This is why they've taken the lineup that they've taken. So watching casts like that, listening to the desk, like, there's a reason why people like Fresh, like, Jesse, Foxy, all those people are paid to give their opinion because they're experts. They know what they're talking about. They can break down the game. So listening to them. And I feel like if you're working with your analysts, if you're working with color casters and, focusing on what they're saying is going to happen, and you find a way to weave that narrative into your broadcast, it's for the best. And some of my favorite casts are the games that don't go the way that everyone expects them to. Like, everyone look at E1. E1 qualified for the upcoming major. They did it through the playoffs. They didn't beat a single team that had a positive record over the course of the stage, but they're going to Manchester. Nobody gave them a chance.
Wow.
But the fact that we got on the mic and it was like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
This isn't what anybody was expecting. They're some of my favorite moments as a caster. Like, when it doesn't go to script and you feel like you're casting something that's special for these players.
That's amazing. That is true. That's amazing because you do a turnaround. And then what happened is that fans start liking the team that you're kind of like talking about. They're like, whoa, okay, I like this guy. I like this team now. That's cool. And then all of a sudden they feel like, rooting for them. And it's like, now they're going to Manchester. Look at that.
It's actually a funny one, right? Because I feel like people need to remember that casters, a massive part of your job is being an entertainer. Now,
yes,
you can compare casting and commentary to certain sports. You can say, soccer, American football, tennis, basketball. I'd say that even though it's a little bit more scripted, I would say the sports or the entertainment product that casting ties in closest to is probably wrestling, because as a commentator, it's your job to educate, to build a narrative, to, as you said, build a fan base for this team. Like, I do notice that if I'm a caster and I start really hyping up this team, people in chat will be like, oh, well, Gibson likes this team, so I like this team.
I like this team, yeah.
And that's kind of what a lot of commentators will do in wrestling. They'll build up the whole concept of a face and a heel. So this is the team that you shouldn't like because, for example, G2 would be a heel because they're incredibly successful. They've got a darker image. And they've got a bloody ninja samurai as their brand logo.
Yeah.
And they were dominant, so you can paint them as kind of like, Darth Vader, heel,
a villain
guys.
type.
Yeah, villain archetype. And then you can portray the likes of Liquid as the good guys because, they've been around for years, some of the best players to ever, handle a mouse and keyboard, but they've not won a major, they've not won an SI.
Correct.
So building those little stories as well is something that I think is really important as a caster, and I think Ace and Dez are incredible at that. They're so good at building the narrative of, these guys are the favorites, but we're going to root for this team because they're the underdog.
Correct. And that brings more excitement to the game. That brings more excitement. This is why I feel that you guys have so much responsibility in your hands, because I feel, this is my opinion, that all the weight goes on your shoulders, because the fan is listening, the fan is watching, and you're the one talking. The players are not talking. They can't talk. They can't say anything. And because they're concentrating, they're playing, but you're guiding everything. You're guiding the flow. You're guiding everything, and to bring excitement, to bring it like, this is okay, let me just grab my popcorn and let me start eating because this is going to be entertaining, versus, okay, who's casting? Oh man, this guy's boring. There's no excitement. Then people just start leaving the channel, or they'll go somewhere else, and they'll go to somebody that's exciting, and they bring, volume into the scene, and then it's a different type of experience. I say, it's like you're watching John Wick versus you're watching, soap opera. Okay, what do you want to watch? On an action, you want the John Wick, because it's action totally from the beginning to the end. So casters have that responsibility to make sure the fans are staying tuned, to the point that they're even watching the ads, and they're watching everything, because they don't want to miss it. Once you're back on, boom, action time. What's going to happen? So Gibson, now set aside casting. How do you got into gaming, first of all?
Right. So, way back when the dinosaurs roamed the earth again.
I think, let me tell you, I'm in my 40s, man. I'm way past that. I mean, I think I'm the time when God created, I'm with Adam and Eve. So
back when I was a kid, now I'm talking about when I was really like 3-4 years old. I was the oldest in the house. I didn't have any siblings at this point, and I remember I can't remember if it was mom or dad got me a Sega Mega Drive and Sonic. So I remember being like 4 years old, playing Sonic the Hedgehog in my little bedroom, having mom and dad play it beside me. Uncles and aunts were coming over, and we all loved and became this kind of social thing. And then it kind of really picked up when I was about 6 or 7, when dad just came home one day with a PlayStation 1. Like, first ever PlayStation. I think the games that I had were a game called V-Rally and Tekken. And I mind really Tekken to Tekken. Like, I loved that game, and I would have cousins coming over. This is before online gaming, so if people wanted to play with you, they had to be in your house. So,
correct.
Mom, dad, family, friends coming over to just get around this whole social element of gaming. And playing games like that, Medieval. Funny story, actually. When I was like 7, 8, one of my favorite games was Medieval, which was this cartoony zombie game where you played this knight who could take off his arm and beat up zombies with his arm. Like, it was real cartoony, kid-friendly stuff. And the second game came out, and I was like, Dad, I love this game. Can you please get me Medieval 2? Please. Dad got me Resident Evil 2. I was about 8 years old, and it scared the daylights out of me. I think it actually desensitized me to horror whenever I was a kid, because I played Resident Evil 2 so young. But,
oh my God.
Yeah, just playing games like that, Grand Theft Autos, online gaming didn't really become a thing, particularly where I lived, until the PS3, because I live in rural Ireland, so we didn't have an ISP fast enough when the PS2 was a thing to game online. So it really kicked off with Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2. Me and my friends, it was weird. I would go to school until 3 p.m. At 4 p.m., I would have the game logged in. I would play Modern Warfare 1 and 2 until 7 o'clock, go to football training, come home, log on again, and play until, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Like, I was a little console demon back then. Like, me and my mates were getting nukes all the time in Modern Warfare 2. We were racing. There was games we were playing where we were racing each other to get it. So it became more of like a competitive thing in secondary school, so our version of high school. And then the transition to PC gaming for me happened really late. So about 7 years ago, maybe 8 or 9 years ago. Actually, no, it's longer. Jeez, it's 10 years ago because I was in second year in college. I was on YouTube and I was bored and I was clicking through random videos, and a guy called Frankie on PC popped up on my YouTube feed, and he played Arma 2 DayZ mod, and he made like this whole series of him like story building in this game. I was like, I need to get a game on PC. I need this in my life. So got my first game on PC, got into PUBG, got into Siege. You know, I was like early access in PUBG. I played a little bit of Siege at the start, but I was like, hey, I prefer watching this game over playing it because it's just, for being someone who used a controller, like,
correct.
Siege on mouse and keyboard seemed so difficult. So
it is, yeah.
Yeah, played PUBG for a couple of years, fell back in love with Siege about 5-6 years ago. Like, I was always, like, I watched the esports all the time, but I just wasn't playing it. So at 5-6 years ago, got back into playing Siege, and I'd say I put in a scary amount of hours in the game since. Like, I'm not technically good. I put my hands up, but I love it. When I'm not playing cheaters, I love it. And that's kind of my whole story in gaming. Just all started back with a Sega Mega Drive and Sonic the Hedgehog.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, you started with a Sega. I started with a Nintendo, the first one. I mean, I had one, called the 3DO. You probably won't even remember that. It was a big disc. It's a big, humongous disc, like a record player. It's a disc. And they were putting like CDs, you know, in style, because Nintendo used a cartridge. So it was, you know, it was hard. And so people were like, oh, let's go to CD-ROM and that should be the thing. But then it had its flaws because a little scratch would just ruin the game. So, you know, I started off with those, and it was fun. It was fun. The online gaming experience that's what changed the whole entire thing. And then you got esports and etc. You know, so yeah, once you transition from console to PC, that's where everything begins. It's so different. I play PC. I was a console player. Until today, I still use my controller on my PC, even playing Rainbow. I just can't, because of so many years using controller. I tried my best. Trust me. Now on Halo, it's fine, because Halo, you could play controller, and the majority of pro players use controller while they're playing Halo. It's like Apex, they use controller. Very few will use mouse and keyboard. But when it comes to Rainbow Six, it's highly recommendable you use mouse and keyboard. I mean, you're gonna die real quick. It's very, very interesting how the transitions are, and how even the gameplay is different when you're playing on PC. Console, I see it more like, you know, having fun. You know, you get with your friends, have fun, family, and have a good time. But once you go to PC, you're going to something a little bit more serious. And that's when everything begins. I mean, even with me, all my friends that I have on console, they were just, you know, people that work or go to school, and we just have a good time. Once I got into PC, then I started making friends with pro players, and then all this. I mean, the sky's the limit. You know, I just started making friends with a lot of them. Made friends with one, then I made friends with 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and then got really into Twitch. And then I started modding for 1, modding for 2, and then come to know it, I mod for over 30 pro players on their channels. It's kind of hectic, because my mod is I do it very differently, because I'm more by the book of Twitch policies and rules and regulations. So I'll tell them, listen, I know you got like 5 other mods, and I'll let them handle the chat. but I'll watch over you. So if you do something wrong, I am going to DM you and say, hey, you said this. Make sure you stop it or delete it because Twitch is going to get you. So, but that's when I changed into PC. That's when I got into PC, and from then on, now I'm podcasting. So it's kind of wild, kind of crazy. So what was how did Rainbow Six Siege came about? Because you had to know the game. You played very little bit of it, or you just liked watching it more than to play it, or?
So I got it on console when it first came out because I was a fan of all the other Tom Clancy games. I played Splinter Cell.
Oh, okay.
I know that it wasn't really a Tom Clancy game, but I'd played like the old Metal Gear Solids, those kind of stealth games, and
yeah.
I think I remember getting Rainbow Six Vegas 2 and really enjoying, Six Vegas. That's a game name that I think a lot of people might not even remember.
Yeah.
But I remember playing it and then getting the game on console and just enjoying it on console. Like, it was very, very, like, anyone who was around when Siege came out, it was a very different game than it is today. Like, very different. And got into watching esports and just enjoyed watching players who were better than me, because that's why I started watching esports, was what do these players who are significantly better than me do? And then you kind of realize, well, it's not even what they do differently, it's they think differently. Like, pro players, I am sure, are just wired differently in their brain as to how they think about the game. But yeah, so started playing that, then got into PC gaming, played a little bit of Siege on PC, and was like, damn, I'm so awful at this. Like, I'm gonna go play.
Same here.
I'm gonna go play Arma, where I can sit in a corner and camp for 5 hours and maybe get one kill. Then I met a few people because I was playing PC Siege by myself, and anyone who knows this as someone play gaming by yourself, it's not the same, especially in a game like Siege.
Yeah.
So met a few people through Pubg. They all played Siege. They're like, let's get back into it. So yeah, we all got back into Siege, and they all stopped playing, and I never did. We all played as a group. They all went back to other games. Like, they all scattered off to things like Apex, to what's it called? The isometric fighter. There's like loads of rip-offs of it. There's a free Brawlhalla is one of the free versions of it. There's like freestyle versions of it.
Like Fortnite, and you got I don't know.
Not really Fortnite. You know Brawlhalla.
Yes.
So games, they all went back to games like that, and I just kind of stayed through Siege. Met another, more people like myself through Siege, and I've been like grinding it ever since. Like, I'm still mechanically not amazing at the game, but I think from all the hours of watching pro play, I understand it enough now that I can hold my own. But I just don't think there's anything out there like Siege, and I'm going to throw Pubg in there too. Like, when you know the games and understand how they work, I just think there's nothing like it. Like, seeing some of the things that teams and players are able to pull off, it's just like, wow. Like, it's just nuts.
I was talking about that with Rexon not long ago, and he was mentioning that, like Halo, Call of Duty, those are run and shoot games, and they're kind of fairly easy, even for them. Rainbow Six pro players, they play it, and they're just like, this is, it's not that complicated. And they get ranked really high, and they just do like superb. I mean, like, for them, it's like easy. Now, you get a pro player from a run and shoot game, like such as like Halo or Call of Duty, or they play Battlefield or play whatever, and you bring them over to Rainbow Six. They can't. For them, is like super complicated. And I think is because it's like I mentioned this many times before. Rainbow is like a game of chess. You gotta know how to make your move. There's moments that you just cannot go through that hallway. You're gonna have to rotate If not, you're going to die. You got to go by sound. You got to go by cams, visuals. And if you don't have cams or visuals, what are you going to do? You got so much stuff running in your brain, and it's so complicated. It's like very complicated, but then at the same time, it just builds that adrenaline and you just like want to know more about it. It's very complex game. Very complex game. Some people, they just don't grasp it, and they'll just like get frustrated and they just like put it away. I can't do this game. This game is too hard. When I first played it, I was one of them. I said, this game is junk. All you do is camp, and then why? Because I was a Call of Duty player. I was more of a Battlefield player. I played Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. So those people, when you're playing, all they complain is campers. Oh, he's just camping in a corner. You're just camping, and we just complain about that. So when we played Rainbow, a lot of my friends and I, we were just like complaining about that. A bunch of campers. This game sucks. And I got convinced, like, play a little bit more. You'll see. Let's see what happens. And then I just start getting hooked on it.
There's so many players out there that are mechanically gifted enough to play at the highest level, but they don't have the discipline or the will to put in the work that it requires to be a pro player. Because when you think about it, you speak about the strategy. Every single player in every single round has a very specific task to do. Even if that task is to just go be a nuisance. Like, you have a role to do. You have a job to do. You have to understand why you're doing what you're doing, why it impacts the rest of your team. You'll find a lot of the time what separates the good tier 1 teams from the great tier 1 teams is the ability to just not do anything. Like, I have seen so many rounds lost as a caster because somebody on defense or somebody on the attack got itchy feet. They were like, a minute and a half's gone. I have to do something. It's like, no, you're fine where you are. Just stay disciplined. And I feel like, and I like, as you said, chess. It's like violent chess. I'd say there's a lot of similarities with American football where you've got your set structure. Everybody's got your job. If you do your job, you'll win the round. Like, I hate to break it down as simple as, but if you're on defense and you do your job, unless somebody pulls off a hell of a play on the attack, you should win the round.
That is so true. Just do your job. Now, I want to ask you a question. You mentioned something a while ago, and it's part of your upbringing. And I know I'm going to change the topic real quick here. You said that when you were younger and you started playing, you got off school, and then you played, but then also you went into playing football. Mm-hmm. You had to go to practice. I kind of noticed that football, we're talking about soccer, to my fans that are listening, I know that's like the number one sport in Europe, and especially in Ireland, right?
It's actually not the biggest sport in Ireland. The biggest sport in Ireland is a game called Gaelic football, which is a traditional Irish sport, which is, I suppose if I was to explain it to somebody who has no clue, it's like a hybrid between soccer and rugby. So you carry the ball in your hands, and if you put it over the bar, it's a point. If you put it in the net, it's 3 points. And it's 15 aside on a huge pitch. That would be the biggest sport in Ireland. And I played that all the way through my youth as well. Like, I would have been training, like outdoor exercise, like practice training up to 10, 11 times a week whenever I was in secondary school, as well as gaming for 6, 7 hours a night. Like, all I can say is I'm damn lucky that I remember information easily, because I would not have passed my exams if I was any other way.
Wow. So was that the one that you were playing? What's the name of it? What's it called?
Gaelic football. So GAA would be what we would call it.
Oh, okay. Gaelic football. And you wear helmets or any stuff like that?
They do. So there's 2 types of Gaelic football. You've got football, which is with an actual, what you would call traditional football. It's a little bit heavier. And then you've got hurling, which is almost like a hybrid between hockey, football, and rugby, because the ball is a lot smaller. You'd hold it in your hand. It'd be about the size of a baseball.
Okay, I'm seeing it. Yeah.
It'd be as heavy as one, but you're carrying these massive metal, like, picture lacrosse, but a bit more violent is kind of what hurling is.
Holy
And
snap. These guys' legs are huge.
And that's an amateur sport. Nobody gets paid to play in that sport. The national final would have up to 80,000 people in the stadium to watch, and not a single player gets paid. It's fully amateur.
Are you kidding me?
Nope.
They don't get paid not even nothing out of 88,000 people in the stadium?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I never seen this before. This is my first time.
It's honestly, if anyone's watching this, go onto YouTube and look up like Gaelic hardest hits, so it's Gaelic, or hurling hardest hits, which is Hurling. Like, these people hit each other like American footballers without the pads.
That's what I'm seeing here. I'm looking at photos. I mean, I would just be the water boy. I'll be giving water to you guys. I wouldn't even dare. It's like rugby in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Holy smack. They don't even have no paddings whatsoever.
Nope.
Oh man. Guys are tall. And this is your favorite sport?
That and football. Well, I actually love American football too. Like, I play American football now.
Oh really? You like American football?
I play American football. I play flag football. I play regular football, soccer. I play Gaelic. I play golf. Like,
okay.
I just love being outside. I think
you love sports.
I think it's important that even as a caster, someone who works in the gaming industry, it's really important that you look after yourself, you stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I think those things are really important too. Like, I this is actually advice to all these like up and coming casters. Always make sure to look after yourself as well, because if you're not hydrated, if you're not sleeping properly, your brain's not working the way it should, your voice is going to give up on you. Just make sure to always look after yourself, because your own health is your the best asset you'll ever have is you. So look after it.
That is so true. I think sleep is very important. The amount of hours of sleep you get, and your nutrition, your health, the exercise. I can't stress it enough. Even the patients that I receive in the hospital that I have to watch over. I'm not a cardiologist. I'm a tech. I'm basically the one that gives report to the doctor about his patients or his or her patients. And I hear time to time the doctor tell him, you got to do exercise. Once you get home, start walking. At least walking 30 minutes a day would help. Cut the sodas. Cut the energy drinks. And just drink a lot of water. That right there would make a big difference. And I'm here looking at the sport, man. This looks brutal. I actually gonna be watching some of this stuff because it looks like a volleyball. The ball is like it's like a volleyball. It's pretty big, and it looks a load of fun. These guys are very fit.
Yeah, it's really heavy too. Like, it's heavier than a soccer ball. Like, if you kick it and you're not wearing like thick football boots or cleats, I think you call them in America, it hurts.
Oh, really?
But a funny one is there's a sport called Aussie Rules. I'm sure if you ever speak to Guz and Xenox, they could tell you about it. But every single year, there's an international like matchup where it's Ireland against Australia, where they play a hybrid of the two sports against each other. So you'll have all the players from Ireland taking on the Aussie Rules players from Australia. One year it'll be in Ireland, the next it'll be in Australia. And it's incredibly fun to watch as well.
So much stuff, so much different sports out there that a lot of people don't know about here in America. See, I'm from an island. I'm from Puerto Rico, a little island. Oh. Yeah, so which, by the way, my stepson went to Ireland on a college trip. He loved it so much. He came back and he was like, man, I think I want to become citizen over there. I was like, do you really like it that much? He says, oh, I loved it. He loves landscape. He loves all the green, all the stuff. He just loved it. He couldn't stop talking about it. So he was telling me that when he went down to Ireland, he went to a place to eat. He says, okay, I'll get some French fries. I'll get something. They were looking at him, French fries. What are you talking about? And he's like, chips.
Mm-hmm.
he didn't know. And he said, chips? And they're like, yeah, this is called chips. And they're like, okay, give me chips then. Because he thinks like a bag of potato chips, what Americans have here. So he was just like, but he loved it. He loved it. He loved it. He loved it. He couldn't stop talking about it. How's things in Ireland, by the way? How's things down there? Are you currently living there right now? We speak.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. It's the same as always. It's a little bit, I think, like everywhere else in the world, we've got a housing crisis. It's difficult for young people. I'll still categorize myself in that young people thing because me and my fiance are, trying to get our feet up on the world, and it's tough. I think. But the only thing is, most Western countries are going through the same thing. So, very similar to what's going on in the UK, very similar to what's going on in the US. It's just a tough time, but I'm sure 2-3 years down the line we'll all get through it.
So is it more like an economical issue that's going on over there right now?
Oh yeah. Interest rates are high. Massive issue with rental. We're getting way off topic, but
Okay.
Rental rates have skyrocketed. Insurance keeps getting higher and higher. It's just a tough time, I think, everywhere when you consider that I don't think there's anywhere in the world where salaries are properly increasing in a way to that it matches inflation. Like, even though if I get work in stage 2 this year, if I get, more Pubg work as well, I still won't be able to consider working in esports full time because it's just so hard right now to live off, that type of money. Like, I genuinely feel like unless you're working both majors, SI, EWC, and the stages, you just cannot be full time, or it's very difficult to be full time in esports. So for myself, like, I'm not going to lie, this stage was tough. Like, I would be commentating LATAM till 2 or 3 a.m. my time, going to bed. You've got a high after a cast, so you're wide awake for like another hour. So I wouldn't be getting to sleep until 4 or 5 a.m. And then I'd have to wake up at 8 a.m. to go to work and do a full day job to 5 or 6 p.m.
Wow.
Plus spending time with my fiance, plus trying to stay connected with my friends and game. Like, it's a tough thing to do, but at the same time, I would give up that and so much more to keep working in esports.
That's crazy. I was going to ask you about that. How the economy, because I know some people are moving and some people want to move and they're just waiting to get their paperwork done and do that. So that's got to be tough on you, and also on your fiance, because you guys got to be together and got to see each other and have time. But if you're working constantly and then also have another job on the side, it's got to be really tough on you. Then you got to get your proper sleep, and then it's like...
The idea of proper sleep didn't exist on stage 1, but I still feel like it didn't impact my performance because I'm still pretty happy with what I put out there.
Correct.
Kind of getting back onto that topic of being a caster, you got to be your own biggest fan, and you got to be your own biggest critic. Like, you've got to be like, you know what, I did really well there. Like, you have to convince yourself that you're good enough to work these events. Like, that's the big one. And my fiance, kind of you're talking about, was it tough on her? Like, she has no interest in esports whatsoever, but she supports me 100%. She's like, you do what you got to do, have fun, You live one life, and much the same way if she said that she wanted to, she said she wanted to get into esports, or she said she wanted to get into like being a movie extra or stuff like that, I'd be like, 100%.
Correct.
Do your thing. She supports me. And what I want to do, I would support her in anything she'd want to do as well.
So she's not into gaming?
Not at all. She's
not even into Mario?
She's too competitive. I played her in Rocket League once, and I literally said, okay, I won't jump, I won't boost, I'll just drive. And I beat her, and she got in such a huff that she threw the controller away and wouldn't speak to me for like 30 minutes. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? Yeah, she's way too competitive.
Yeah.
But I think competitiveness is a good thing, though.
It's a good thing. Mm-hmm. That means she'll fight for you, man. Mm-hmm. She will fight for you to the end of the earth.
Or fight me, one of the two.
Yeah. He's the best caster. Don't nobody say anything negative about him.
Oh, she couldn't care less.
Oh, really?
I remember I've got hate messages once from somebody on Twitter. They were like, "I hate you. You're a terrible caster. You don't speak English properly." And to me that was like at the time that was like it didn't impact me negatively at all. I saw it as a positive. I was like, oh, hey, I've got a hater now. You're doing. If you've got a hater, you're doing something right.
You're doing something good.
All she did when she saw the message was laugh. Like, funny enough, the same guy messaged Whippet too. This same person just does not like me and Whippet, and he just DM'd the both of us within 2 minutes to complain about both of us. And it's like, okay, okay. I'm sorry for being Irish. I guess
Irish are the nicest people. They're nice. They just got a temper on them. You just got to watch out. Is she Irish as well?
She is.
Oh, God bless you. I'll pray for you. I had somebody, a girlfriend in the past. She was half Irish, half Italian. Mm-hmm. Oh boy, there was a fight who wore the pants in the relationship. Let me tell you. I took off her pants and I said, okay, and I put them on. I wearing the pants.
Tip for all
I
the
couldn't
fellas
remember what
there
happened.
You're never the boss. You're never you might think you're the boss, but
you might
never
think,
the boss.
Yeah, you're never the boss. I think that goes for every relationship. She will always win. Mm-hmm. Will always win. Just give her the throne. Take it. Go ahead, because they got a temper on them. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's kind of crazy. You got a hater already. I mean, there's just some people, they're just sour. They just don't, if you don't like the person, just don't follow them. Yeah. I bet, there's a reason why he's following you. That goes ahead to hate on you. So kind of crazy, man. So any plans for the future now that you're full in depth with and esports? I know you're telling me there's economical crisis where you're at. Are you thinking about kind of moving, or are you thinking or just staying in Ireland no matter what? You're thick and thin. You're thinking about coming to United States.
I thought about the US for a while, a few years back, but I feel like the ship sailed. Like at this point in my career, my day job is really understanding. Like they support me in what I do in esports, which is which is pretty good. They gave me a month off in 2022 to live in Paris to work the Challenger League. No problem. So I couldn't leave that company.
No, I wouldn't either.
And I feel like for all my casting opportunities, yes, there's more opportunities in the US. But moving myself out of the EU time zone where, my duo Whippet lives in Ireland. My goal is to work EUL. I feel like as a caster from Europe, working EUL is the pinnacle. Even though Brazil is the biggest league, the best league, EUL is where you want to be as a caster. I genuinely feel like I'm not going to get any opportunities to work international events other than EWC until I'm working EUL. You gotta be NAL, EUL, OCE, primary broadcasts, I think, if you want to be working majors. And, it's tough at the minute because there are so many talented casters. In EU alone, You've Ace Des, Emmy Happ, Ollie Demo. You've got Grayson there as well. Like, that's a lot of people who you're kind of competing with, and it's a lot of people that I admire that I'm competing with to get these jobs. So long term, it's just keep doing what I'm doing, trust the process. Hopefully someday we'll get that opportunity. I might not even get either. Like, I've worked the last 2 Esports World Cups Gamers 8 tournaments. I know nothing's guaranteed. Like, there's a very real chance that we don't get it this year. But if we don't, it's just about not taking it as a personal slight. Like, you got to remember, if you don't get picked up for work, it's not a personal slight. It's just that TO, that tournament organizer, feels like someone else is going to add more value. So you've just got to find ways to make sure that you're the person that they want that's going to add value.
Man, Gibson, I really wish you the best. I mean, you're a phenomenal person. You're very humble. I can see that. I could tell you got a very, very good heart. And I really wish this year you get more and more and more opportunities and get what you really want. Because you deserve it, man. I'm going to be really honest with you. You deserve it.
Thank you. It's like I said, though, there's so many talented people. Like, I openly said at the start of the podcast, I did not take not getting stage 2 last year well, because, as I said, the first, every job interview I'd ever had, I got the job. My fiance, she was the girl that I wanted. I got her, and, I hadn't really suffered rejection in any way, shape, or form in my life until I hit 30 years old. Yeah. And I didn't deal with it well. Now, I didn't go off the rails, but I'm not proud of how I took it as a personal insult at the time. Like, I took this as an insult when it wasn't. Like,
correct.
Retrospectively, when I looked back, it was like, that wasn't an insult. They just wanted somebody else. So make sure that next time they want you. And, hopefully they think the same. If I don't get stage 2, I'm not going to take it as badly this year. I'll be disappointed. I'll be upset.
Yeah.
But,
I mean,
you know what?
Everything happens for a reason. Trust me, everything happens for a reason. There's a reason for everything. I had a special guest on my podcast. She was a mother of one of the pro players, a semi-pro on Halo, and we were talking about cancer, right? And I always say everything happens for a reason. I took a drink that I always take, and it just it made my stomach burn. I had to rush to the ER. They did a CAT scan. Come to find out, the stomach was perfectly fine. It was just the acid, the reaction to it. But the doctor noticed there was a lump on one of my kidneys. An accidental finding. If it wasn't for that drink, I would have still had this tumor inside my body, and it probably would have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger to the point that it would spread out. So everything happens for a reason. I tell people, everything happens. The no, convert it to something positive and see it as something beneficial. As American football, the New England Patriots, check this out, went to the Super Bowl undefeated. They haven't lost not even one game through the whole entire season.
You keep talking about that because I know what you're saying, because I'm going to show you something. You keep telling that story. I'll be 2 seconds.
So they go ahead all the way to the Super Bowl, and they face the Giants, and they end up losing. So they didn't win. They didn't win it at all. They lost. Oh my God. You are kidding me, man. You got a jersey.
I got the jersey, and the signature here as well.
Okay. Wait, you have his autograph?
Yeah.
My goodness. That is freaking crazy. Mm-hmm. Everything happens for a reason. And then they won the Super Bowl, man. The Giants won. They beat the undefeated Patriots. For me, that was, in my opinion, that was the best Super Bowl in NFL history. I tell everybody, I'm not a Giants fan. I'm not a Patriots fan. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. But for me, that was the best, because to beat a team that was undefeated at, Super Bowl. I mean, obviously Tom Brady, yes, he celebrated all these other Super Bowls, but I know for a fact, deep inside his heart, that one had to hurt.
Eli Manning, first round Hall of Famer, in my opinion. I'll accept nothing else.
He is phenomenal player.
He's the reason I'm a Giants fan, funny enough, because I watched the draft where he got drafted back in 2004? Was it 6? 2006, maybe.
I think it's 4 or 6, yeah.
Yeah. I remember watching that draft and being like, yeah, this guy's cool. They traded up to get him, even though he got picked first overall by someone else. So, yeah, been a Giants fan ever since. But, yeah. First off, you're doing okay now, though? Like you spoke about.
Oh, yeah. Thank God. They, just not too long ago, a month and a half ago, the doctor removed the tumor. It was small. It says 2 centimeters. He said actually when he operated, he wanted to take it out. It was smaller than expected. So we caught it at very, very, very early stage. So now I got to be, they do a CAT scan every year now to check on me. I talked to my father. I said, Dad, they're going to be checking. He says, well, hey, that's good news. And I said, Dad, what are you talking about? I said, so now that means they're going to be observing your body every moment, every year. They're going to be checking you out. So if there's any tiny little thing that pops up, guess what? They're going to take care of it.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you're doing better, man. Like,
yeah, thank
scary.
God. Thank the Lord. Yeah. Oh, it is scary. Let me tell you, the first thing that crosses your mind is family. I started thinking about my son, about my kids, my stepkids. It's family. Nothing matters. Money goes away. That's not important. None of that matters anymore. It's family. Start thinking about your loved ones, thinking about what's going to happen if you're not around. How's my son's going to do? So, you take it for granted, certain things. And then I'm like, okay, now I kind of know what's really important in life. And to be honest, after that, I started, forgiving a lot of people that hurt me in the past. I started calling family members. They were in shock that I called them, hey, just want you to know, I know we went through a little bit of turmoil. I'm sorry on my behalf, I'm sorry. And just make amends, just fix everything. And that's what I did. I feel at peace now. I feel really good. It opened up my mind. Like I said, everything happens for a reason. That's why you went through a moment in your life that you received the no, the big no. Like, no, we're not this year, maybe next year. And you're not used to it. But there's a reason for it. Probably, you had to spend more time with your fiance. Take those time and take advantage of it. There's always something. Trust me, there's a reason for everything. There's one thing that really impacted me that always is stuck to my mind every single day, even when making a turn on a red light or whatever. When I'm driving, was about a person that was rushing to the airport. I mean, just rushing. He was on a taxi cab and he was telling the guy, make this turn, do this, hurry up, I gotta go, I'm gonna miss my flight. And once he went to the gate, he was rushing in, went to the gate, they closed the door and they said, listen, the plane is still there, let me in. And they're like, sorry sir, we can't. And he's like, I'll pay you whatever, just let me in. And I'm like, sir, we're sorry. And you see the plane giving reverse. They could have, in a way, stopped it, opened it, and let him in. But, there's some people they go by the book at their jobs. So the lady said no, and the guy threw a fit. I mean, just started cursing up a storm, and left out and calling, making a complaint. They said, But that plane was one of the planes that hit the tower, Twin Towers in New York. So imagine, everything happens for a reason. There's a reason to, trust me, there's something positive about it. Have you ever tried to think about what was the positive side of that no?
Oh, 100%. Like, I know that I've grown from it. Like, as you can see, I'm not as annoyed about getting told no anymore, because it kind of taught me to realize that it's not a personal insult. It's nothing against me. It's just they elected to be better. It just means that I know now when I get an opportunity that I got to work 10 times harder to keep it, instead of getting, complacent and, not putting in the work that I think a caster should. And, there's that say you were talking about, everything happens for a reason. There's an Irish saying that's very similar to that, but it's what's for you won't pass you, which basically means that if something's meant for you, it'll not go past your life without happening. So, like you said, if you're supposed to get work, you're going to get it. If you're not supposed to get work, then it wasn't for you. Like, you weren't supposed to work that event. You never know. You might have been awful. You might have made a massive mistake and never got another opportunity off the back of it. So that's kind of what I live on. It's what's for you won't pass you. So
what's for you won't pass you. I like that. I really do. I like that. I like that a lot. What's for you won't pass you. That's a good one. Come to think about it, it's so true. Because what's for you won't pass you. I mean, it has a lot of logic. And that's a good thing, Gibson, that you learn from it, because I mean, it's gonna guide you more into the future, and you're gonna learn to accept things that one is a no. Usually, a lot of people go through that. A lot of people that are very spoiled, and we get that in the hospital. There was a patient one time. It was a millionaire. He said, "I'll give you $1 million." He told the doctor, "I'll give you $1 million. $1 million to the doctor." So I'll give you $1 million if you could take this pain away. And it was this type of condition that he had on his bones that was just eating him alive. And I was twisting his fingers. It was like an arthritis, really, really, really bad. It was to the point like you're just better off just amputating the hands. I mean, it was just that bad. And he said, "I'll give you $1 million." He had the money, rich guy. Usually they get spoiled because they think money will buy everything. And they think they'll get everything they want because they have the money. And it's not necessarily like that. And when the doctor says no, he says, even then you could give me whatever, there's nothing we could do for this. You got to take the no and just move on. So, once you got that no, obviously you learn from it and you've grown and you're in a much better state right now mentally, and you're good to go for the next one.
I hope so. I'll be like, as I said, I'm hoping to get Esports World Cup. If I don't get it, it's fine. Because again, there's so many talented people out there who can get that job, and there only was, I think, 6 casters involved last year total. So 2 duos out there, 1 duo remote. So, it's a tough job. Like, if you're trying to pick 6 people out of the 20 to 30 really talented casters that we have, I don't want their job. Like, as in, to pick that talent, it's a really tough one to do. I'm going to Manchester for the finals because I couldn't not miss it. Flights are like €50 to go there. The tickets, like, I couldn't not go because it's so close to home.
Yeah.
As said, I'm leaving my calendar open for stage 2 just in case. But if I don't get anything, I'm still going to watch, because there's nothing like CG Sports out there. Like, I don't think I've missed a single game in the last 3 years. I think I've watched every single game of Siege that there's been at the tier 1 level. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Like, I'll have teams that I can't wait to watch. I'll have, there'll be teams that I want to see that I don't expect to win, but in my opinion, getting to the major is their victory. Like, I think people got to realize this. Like, some teams just getting to the major is as big as winning a major for them. Like, because they
Oh,
know
yeah.
they're not going to win it, but just being there is such a life experience that they can take from and build on. I want to actually talk about one team in particular from last year. So we casted the third Playday of Korea in Stage 1 last year, and there was a team called La Vega. Now, I don't know if you remember them, but they'd lost their opening 2 games, and they lost them really badly. Like, I think they'd won 3 rounds over 2 games. And Whippet and I casted them on the third Playday. And first off, we went in really positive. Like, you know what? This team's losing games, but they're getting the opening pick a lot of the times. They're doing so many things right. It's just they're rushing after that. And that's why they're not getting the victories. But this is what they do really well. They won that day. And then they went on to qualify for the major. Like, they actually qualified for the major when everybody was calling them terrible. Everybody was saying this team is so bad. You know, they're no chance in hell. They made it. 3 players from the team and the coach, who don't speak a word of English, reached out to us, you know, Whippet and I, to thank us for saying nice things about them because everybody else was being mean and, like, saying they didn't have a chance. They were like, we really appreciate the kind words that you said. And I was like, hey, guys, I mean it. Like, you're doing the hard thing already and getting the opening picks and giving yourselves opportunities. Trust yourselves. I have no doubt that you can make it. They made it to the major. They had no expectations of getting outside of phase 1. But to me, it just made me feel so good that we said, you know, everyone's written this team off.
Yeah.
They can do it. And the fact that them, as people who don't speak English, you know, natively, heard the noise from the outside. They heard people talking badly about them. They heard, you know, the desk saying they didn't have a chance. But so us saying nice things about them meant so much that they reached out to us and were like, hey guys, just thanks for the support. Just know that it means a lot. And
That's
I'll never forget it.
amazing. See, that's why I like about you. That's what I like about you, Gibson, because I notice that. I know that. You know, a lot of people, I said this millions of times. A lot of people, oh, why don't you bring this person on your podcast? Why don't you? I say, I don't care about them. Oh, but they have 1 million. I don't care about the millions. I just care about humble people, good people at the root of their heart. They're humble and they're good. They're sweet. They're kind. Those are who I like. I don't care if this person has, you know, all this. No. And that right there just proves a point and proves my point that, you know, that you're a really genuine, good person, good, humble human being. And that's really nice because those players, they may not know a lick of English, but trust me, there's a friend, there's a family member, there's somebody that knows English and they're translating what was going on. And for you speaking kind and speaking good about them and giving them encouragement, all the great words, that right there meant the world. That right there kept them motivated. I'm sure they follow you now on Twitter, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they do.
of course.
It's just the whole concept of I see a lot of myself in these teams. Like, I see myself as an underdog. Like, I'm from Ireland. Ireland's not this glamorous country where people are known as casters. We don't have these natural broadcast voices. It's any event that we want to get involved in, we have to take a flight. Like, there's no events in Ireland. There never will be an event in Ireland. And because we came so into casting so late in the game, like, when you think of every single other talent member, they've been there for years. Like, you know, even though Lynx is relatively new, he's been in the scene for years. Like, he made his NAL debut like 2-3 years ago. You know, Guz and Xenox, they worked in SI a couple of years ago, but still people see them as new. Whippet and I are, like, incredibly new. Like, as I don't know how to put it. It's so much harder, I feel, for talent now to break through than it ever was because there's no Tier 3 system, because there's no regional leagues like there used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that underdog energy is a bit like me. Like, I know there's people who don't like my style of casting because it's not broadcasty. You know what I mean? It's not Chris Collinsworth type. You know, I'm here, I'm professional, there's not a hair out of place, I'm wearing a suit, I'm wearing a tie, and I'm a professional. No, I cast because I love the game and I love having fun. Like,
Right.
my mindset when I'm done is, did I enjoy it? If I enjoyed it, chances are the viewer did as well. And if they didn't enjoy it, that's fine. Like, casting is subjective. It's not a science. Like, some people are going to like one caster, other people aren't. And
Yeah.
the minute that you understand that, it's totally okay as well. Like, I know there's people who don't like me, and I'm okay with it because I'm not going to change who I am to suit 3 people if 45 people like what I do. Because, you know, my mindset is I want the players to look. I've always said from day one, I want players to be like, oh, it's a Gibson cast. As a player, I want to watch it back. I want to hear what he had to say. And I want people's parents and friends and family to be like, I like that guy because he knows. As in, he knows that esports is still relatively new. For the most part, it is families and friends and fans watching. You don't want to say anything that could be taken the wrong way. Like,
Correct.
if a player has a bad game, you don't know what's going on. Like, they might have had a bad game because something's going on in their personal life that
That's
nobody
true.
knows about. You know, like, there was a player in EU who's played, you know, with cancer for a long time. The amount of mental strength that person has to get up every morning to compete in Siege with everything that he's going through in life. He could have easily thrown the towel in.
Yeah.
But no. He showed up. He shows out. He does his best. Like, to me, esports is people. And the players will always be the star of the show. But you got to humanize them. And as a caster, I feel like you've got to be personable. Like,
Yeah.
I want people to... Like, how do I say this? Every caster wants people to like them. Like, nobody out there is like, oh yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be liked. Everyone wants to be loved. Like, when I see nice messages about me, it genuinely does mean a lot because I know that that's someone's personal preference. And,
Correct.
like, that's why I give praise, because I know that it's really nice to get it. So when you have the opportunity to compliment somebody, do it.
Do it.
It's
Yeah.
free. I don't mean don't give out compliments you don't mean. Like,
Correct.
if you've something nice to say to somebody, say it, because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what that one little nice thing that you've said can have an impact on their day. Like, for example, when you reached out to me to do this podcast, I was like, yeah, of course. I might have been really bad at replying, but
Yeah.
it's like, hey, I want to do this. I'm just really busy.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, what you do is great. What goes in Xenox, their podcast is awesome. Like, all these people who are going above and beyond to entertain people, it means a lot to people. And I just, thanks to you for doing this. Like, Goals in Xenox, great job by them. Like, I love that they're putting out their stuff. Fresh is the same. Like, we're blessed with so many really good people in the Siege scene. And people talk negative about Siege's community a lot.
Yeah.
There are stars in this community. Like, some of the best people I've ever met in my life have come from this community.
That is so true. That is so true. I mean, I say this. A lot of people complain about, you know, on Twitch and, oh, I like this guy, I don't like this guy. Well, you know what? That's why there's a bunch of content creators. You're going to follow the ones that you like. Same thing goes on TV. Some people like watching sports on NBC, or they want Fox Sports, or they want, you know, this CBS Sports. You're going to choose the ones you like. There's casters that you're going to like. You're going to, you know, feel more close to. Me personally, I'm more of your fan. I'm a Gibson fan. I like the Kickstar, and I like Laxing as well. He's a friend of mine, which I mod for in his channel. So I associate my casters that I like. Same thing goes with podcasts. Some people probably listen to my podcast and they don't like it. They like a little bit a different type of style. There's tons of podcasters, and on esports there's very few that maintain and stay with it, but everybody's gonna like, and everybody has a different type of style. My style is more like, I try to make my style more like a Joe Rogan. That's why I don't only talk about esports. I'll get off the topic. That's why I was talking a little bit more about Ireland, and we'll talk about the economy, and talk about other stuff, and just go around a loop and make it more personal. Because a lot of fans will tell me, I want to know this guy on a personal level. I know everything he does in sports, but how is he as a personal, on a personal side? So that's what I kind of go for. Some people like that, some people don't. Some people just want to stay strictly into one topic and stick to that. So yeah, I mean, I love your style, man. Let me tell you right now. That's why I reached out to you. I'm like, I pray, please. He says yes, please, because I want Gibson on. That's one of my. I mean, what's you? What Fatality? I don't know if you know about Fatality, the gamer. He was on my podcast. He came on, and trust me, he was like the one that I really wanted, because of what he's done in the whole in esports, and he's a Hall of Famer now. He's inducted in the Hall of Fame of esports. So there's certain people that I truly honored, and trust me, and you're one of them. You're one of them, Gibson. You're phenomenal, man.
You're flattering me. You're flattering me.
You're phenomenal.
I'm going red here. You're making me blush. But yeah, look, I think the guests you've had on are great too. Like, I've interviewed Laxing before. I love the guy. Speaking to Laxing directly now, if he's watching, stop looking so damn good. You're putting way too much pressure on the rest of us to look as good as you do on broadcast. Yeah. But
he'll be able to listen. He can't watch because the cams is only for us. Yeah. And I tell that a lot, because a lot of these pro guys, when they come on, say, "Oh, do we have to use cameras?" I'm like, no. He says, "Okay, because I just woke up. I don't want to be getting dressed up or anything." I said, no. It's all audio only. So he will be listening.
If you ever get a chance, have a conversation with Ian Chambers as well. You will never meet anyone in your life who will make you feel a foot taller straight away than Ian Chambers, or the way that he talks to you. He is a wonderful human being as well.
Who's this?
Ian Chambers. He's host Siege. He's
Chambers.
Yeah.
Okay, Chambers. Yeah.
He is an incredible human being.
Well, tell him to reach out to me. I'll have him on.
Yeah, he's a great guy. But man, I just as I said, I just love esports. I could talk esports all day. I'm Irish, so I could talk all day anyway. Anyone who watches Weapon Eye, they know that we go off on tangents from time to time on a broadcast, but we've reined it in a little bit. I'm never going to get rid of it because it's who I am, but we've reined it in a little bit that we're not talking about the weather in the middle of a round. But but hey, it's fun. But all I can say is I just wish you the best with this with the show. I hope that
thank you.
Anyone who watched this actually enjoyed learning a little bit about me. As I said, I'm still relatively new, so not a lot of people do know who I am. I feel like it's weird. I feel like I'm more known in Pubg than I am in Siege, even though I've worked way more Siege.
Wow.
I'm a Twitch partner because of Pubg. I've nearly 10,000 followers on that platform, but I'd say most of them are Pubg, if not all of them.
That's crazy. I had a Pubg pro over here. He was a former wild card.
Oh, who?
I'm gonna tell you right now because I have so many names in my brain. Let me tell you right now. I'm gonna search it up because I forgot. Really nice guy, very very nice guy, phenomenal, humble. He was one of the
esports players are though. People don't get this. All the trash talking, all the shit talking that you see on broadcast. That's not really who these people are. Like, most players, once the cameras are off, are just lovely people. Like, people that have people who you'd think would have an ego because of how much success they've had are not like that at all. Palu is a lovely guy.
Oh, I love Paulo. I really wish I could talk to him one day.
I've had him on my show. So
really?
I've had Palu on my show before. Another incredibly nice guy, Spoit. Like, people would think, he's a young kid. He's got, hundreds of thousands of followers that he's going. You go, nope. He is one of the most down to earth, lovely people you could ever meet. Like, people's opinion on people in esports, 9 times out of 10 is not what that person's actually like behind closed doors.
Exactly. That is so. It's the guy where PUBG Pro was T-Sock.
Oh, T-Sock, I love him.
T-Sock. He was actually my third guest. Third guest.
I can tell you something really funny. The last time I spoke to T-Sock was hold on.
Probably well
4 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was chatting T-Sock 3 or 4 weeks ago. Not even lying.
I had him on December 11th last year. Yeah, he was my third guest. Very nice, very nice. See, when I started the podcast, I was with Wildcard.
Mm-hmm.
I was part of the organization. I was a Twitch specialist / worked in communications and etc. So I was with the organization. Phenomenal organization, phenomenal. And then I decided to branch out to do certain other things and for the podcast, and because I was noticing it was growing and I was getting a lot of listeners, and it goes by some type of rate and percentage. So now I'm getting to be known very much in EU. I got listeners in Norway, Sweden. I'm like, what the heck, Japan? I'm like, okay, this is going very, very far out there. So even in Russia, I'm like, okay, this is really cool. Got listeners in Russia. I got listeners in China. I got listeners. I mean, it just is branching out. Hawaii. I mean, it's all over. So that's why I kind of like, okay, let me go on my separate ways. If I'm tied to an org, sometimes certain fans will like, well, I don't like that org, so I'm not going to listen to you. So I don't even care. So it kind of like put me in a way that I said, okay, I'm going to have to just go solo on this. And that's what I did. Just went solo. And also I wanted to do certain other things, I did want to go with another org that has more popularity on different games. So it would make it easier for me even to branch out to other pros. So that's why I kind of like, went on a separate, went on my own. That's why I did it. But I'm doing good now. So yeah, T-Sock on PUBG. He was actually my first PUBG pro, came in, and very, very nice guy. Very, very nice. Very nice. And afterwards, then more people started coming in but yeah, I didn't know you were that much into, see, look at that. I just learned something new. I didn't know you were into PUBG.
I commentate the PUBG equivalent of NAL. So I cast PAS, which is the PUBG Americas series.
Jeez, man, you got it made. I mean, you're good at it.
Honestly, both like Siege and PUBG are my two dream games. Like, if I could work an international event in front of an audience in both of those games, I could die happy. Like,
you made it. You did your goal.
It's the dream. Like, even if I never get to cast a major final or an SI final, which of course every caster's dream is, just getting to cast in a venue with a crowd is to me where I want to get to. Like, I feel like with the energy I have, with the energy Whip has, we could just get them involved.
I could just imagine you both on an SI final in Brazil. Come on.
That's Buzz and Xenox. Those guys, they Honestly, I would have loved to have spoken to those two guys 3 hours after the broadcast to see what their voices was like, because
Yeah.
I guarantee you their voices were gone because
Oh,
they gave it everything. Like, I think everybody was surprised when they got the final, but my God, did they smash it out of the park. Like,
yeah, they did a phenomenal job.
They delivered and more. So
Yeah.
huge props to them. And I know them not getting to this major is a massive shock to not only me, but I think everybody, like, considering how well they've done. But if anybody can take that and roll with it and come back stronger for the next match, it's those two guys. Like, genuinely top of their game.
Well, we don't know why Blast, is doing it. Probably they're just trying to be equal, giving a fair shot to everybody. It's like, okay, you were an SI, okay, I'm gonna give another group of people, and I'm just gonna rotate and do it like that. Probably that's why it's not even personal,
Yeah, Ollie's awesome. So he is like XR Troika, and he's always been brought into these events as an analyst. But to me, he's a phenomenal caster because you can just listen to him. Like, he is one of those voices that's just easy to listen to. The major's in Manchester, which is around where he's from. If he wasn't working this event, it would have been a crime. Like,
yeah.
So, he deserves that shot. Like,
correct.
I think only Dev is the only person coming from Australia. Obviously, Mandy just retired. Maybe she would have went because obviously they didn't get the cast SI. So maybe it would have been the case where they didn't get SI, so they were going to get the major. Nobody really knows the inner workings of it. I just hope that at some point in the future that, like, the idea of a talent announcement coming out for a major and having my face and Whippet's face on it's like, please. I want a meme talent announcement with my face on it someday as well.
It's amazing. I'm sure I know you're gonna get your shot. I know you're gonna get your spotlight one day. It's gonna be good. You're gonna tell me about it. You're gonna tell me about it. I'll get you back on the show, and I'm gonna make sure that you tell me all the energy, how you felt, what you went through, all the nerves. You're probably gonna be like stressed out, like, oh my God, this is more nerve-wracking than I thought it's gonna be.
I think the way I look at it, right, is if I don't get it, it wasn't meant to be. Well, actually, I'm going to add a caveat to that. This is what I say to casters, to players, anybody coming up. If you have a talent, right? If you have a talent, that something that you're very good at, and you like that talent, because there is people out there who are talented in things that they're not interested in as well. But if you have a talent and you're interested in it, and you don't give 100% to get where you want to go to, like, you only half-ass it, you're going to have regrets for the rest of your life. Whereas if you give everything you've got, like, I mean, you put in the hours, you're working non-stop on being the best version of you that you can be, and you still don't get it, at least then it wasn't you. You can have no regrets because you know that you've done everything in your power. Whereas if you don't get it and you didn't give it all, you're going to have regrets your whole life. So that's what I'm doing. I'm giving it everything I can. If I don't get there, I'll just know it wasn't meant to be, but at least I'll know that it wasn't because I didn't put in the extra work that I should have put into to get to where I wanted to get to.
Amazing. That is so true. You don't want to have any regrets. You want to do everything, 100%. So yeah, that is so true. And once you do that, once you have that mindset, you're going to put 100%. You don't have any regrets whatsoever because you gave it all. And that's the best way to do it. A lot of these pro players, they go through that. They have to put their mindset, I'm going to give it my all so I don't have any regrets. Yes, I'll make a mistake here or two, but I'm going to put in 100% because I don't want to have any regrets whatsoever. So that is so true. Well, Gibson, time is of essence. I know you got things to do, and I'm running, and I could keep on talking with you. Honestly, you're totally right. Irish folks could talk, and oh my gosh. Imagine if, what do you guys call a beer? Pint or something?
Yeah.
Oh, have a pint with you or something? Yeah. Drink. I can't drink that much anymore now.
I've probably been sacked from my day job now anyway because I've been away for so long. I'm supposed to take an hour lunch and I think it's like been an hour and 45
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I am so sorry. It's an hour and 44 minutes.
Not you. I'm Irish. It's me. It's all me.
Yeah, that happens too. I mean, I'm Puerto Rican, so we love to talk. I mean, geez, we could talk as well. So yeah, I know time is that time. We gotta get going. I know you got things to do, and it's fun. That's why I tell people it says 1 hour, but usually sometimes a conversation goes in, it gets really good, and then all of a sudden we're talking about a lot of stuff, and it just goes, it just flows. That's how it usually goes. But Gibson, I give everybody a minute to the stage so they could give out all their socials, where people could find you, where the fans could see your content, whereabouts, everything. Go ahead. Stage is yours.
GibsonCasts on everything. So I'm on Twitter, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitch, I'm on Instagram, but I post on it like once a year because I don't take photos. It's just I'm one of those people who just take everything in instead of taking photos, but you'll find me there. Hopefully you'll hear my voice again soon on the Siege channel and other avenues as well. And, just like you did, if anybody ever has any questions or anybody ever wants to reach out to me to ask anything about casting, esports, I'm always more than willing to give someone time because I'm a big believer in paying it forward. So if there's anything I can ever do to help, reach out. I'd love to get to know people better.
Okay. Well, folks, there you heard it from the man, the legend, the beast, the king of the castle. I mean, geez, this guy is phenomenal. Well, Gibson, don't go just yet after the 5-second count. I forgot to mention that to you. I'm going to go ahead and end the show here in a minute. Just don't touch anything. And then I have a few words to say after this. So, folks, thank you so much for tuning in to the Dr. VTech show. Please don't forget to follow GibsonCasts on his Twitter/X, we call it now. You get the latest update. He is a truly phenomenal person. He does really good content on Twitch as well. So please follow him. He is genuine, a really good guy. So thank you so much, folks. Take care. Till next time, God bless you. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Dr. VTech Show, and don't forget to click follow.